Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at race number 7 at Laurel Park on Sunday, one of 3 stakes races on the program. Let's take a look at the field for the Prince George's County Stakes. We're going a mile and an eighth on the turf. The one ain't a beer cold is 6 to 5 on the morning line because he's main track only. We don't want to see him. We want this race on turf. Forever Super Highland Chief, they're the 2 main protagonists. Both cross-entered at Colonial. Both will run here according to their trainers.
Well, that's good to hear. You see, always have the intel and the insight here. I think the big thing is Highland Chief. This is significant class relief from anything that he's faced over the last, 2 years so far in his career. This is just going to be a way softer spot. And thought his second race off that extended layoff in the dinner party was good. So I think he's rightfully 8 to 5 on the morning line. But you look at a horse like Forever Super, who at least has been kind of knocking on another victory in those last 2 efforts.
And let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. It's the no speed bar. You very rarely see that. And there isn't a ton of speed in this race. Eldest Son, the number 5, is projected to make the lead. I talked to Michael Trombetta, trainer of the number 4 Forever Super, earlier on Friday. He won't be surprised at all if this horse is sitting second where Timeform US has him, or even on the front.
Yeah, I think to me, they are the main two on this race. You look at a horse like, say, Stellar Loot, who comes out of some races that are a little bit on the quicker side. I just think he's been too far back to really make an impact. And you can see here on time form pace projections, he's towards the back of the pack. So to me, makes it tough to kind of handicap mile and an eighth with no real honest pace on paper.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Stellar Loot coming off a runner-up effort. First start off with the Gina Perry claim. Taking a peek at Stellar Loot, he doesn't have a lot of early speed. He comes with a good late kick. Ain't the Beer Cold, the number 1, is our main track only runner. Stellar Loot gives it his all in this spot. He just comes up a little bit short, stepping into the allowance ranks. Now he's got to step up in class in a situation where the race flow might not be kind to him.
It was just nice, though, finally to see him a little bit more forward early on in terms of lengths off the pace. Typically, he's very far back and makes that late run, like we saw, say, 3 starts back or even 2 starts back. So I think that kind of attributed to a better performance. But in terms of what he's going to need to do here, I think he's going to need to be closer and he's going to need to kind of prove himself against better horses.
Wow, what a summer. The number 3 is praying for rain. He loves it soft. He won the Penn Mile a couple of years ago at 83 to 1 over the softest of soft turf courses. And his most recent win, 2 starts back, came over a course with some give in it. Last time out, kind of an even performance. This guy has sneaky speed. It'll be interesting to see if Horacio Caramanos tries to take the bull with the horns. Here's Wow, what a summer. Scoring 2 starts back, going a mile at Pimlico.
Yeah, I thought this was a really nice run for him. A well-timed ride as well by Jorge Rui, who was aboard in that event, to just get up in the nick of time to win by a nose. And it was at a mile. He's going to go a little bit further, but we've seen him try everything. We've seen him go a mile and a half. It hasn't been successful, but I thought his late kind of strides to the wire here were eye-catching. At least showed a little bit more of life in him. And last time out, you mentioned he got firm ground and it maybe didn't pan out for him. And I will say last time out it was interesting. He was much more closer to that pace early on. And it's not like it was necessarily that slow.
Forever Super is up next, just a progressive sort trained by Trombetta. He won a couple of stakes races against Florida breds to kick off his campaign. And then he faced a really sharp horse in Data Man in both the Henry Clark and the Cliffhanger. The Henry Clark was kind of a race where it was a good trip until it wasn't. He was in the pocket, and then the pocket closed, and by the time he got out, it was too late. And in the Cliffhanger, he was just 3 wide all the way around the track, and I wonder if that sapped some of his kick.
Yeah, a little bit of a victim of bad racing luck in those last 2. And you can't take anything away from him in terms of his career on the turf. I mean, find a bad race. It's really hard to do so when you're 10 for 12 in the money. And I think a lot of it is his versatility, but he's not that versatile in the sense that he doesn't want to be dead last. He likes to sit kind of mid pack. And it's just going to be, is he mid pack on the rail? Is he sitting 3 wide once again? I do think in a race like this, though, where the pace is it's not there, it's basically void, he can get into a good kind of position and not have to worry about those things. And it's more of a compact field in some of his races. So I think for Trip, he's going to be in the right spot.
Eldest Son is up next, claimed by Nolan Ramsey, who's gotten off to a very hot start to his training career. This guy was 4th, beaten 2 lengths by Hard Spun Reason and the Addison Poor, 2 horses that are also back in this spot. So he's taken a big step up in class. They're taking a chance with this horse. Jamie Rodriguez takes them out.
And you mentioned Nolan's off to a great start since going on his own and learned from some of the best in the game. The last 2 efforts from this one, they've been good. I guess the question is, when are we going to see races like we did in the fall of 2023, where he was getting the job done. He's kind of had that same trip in 2 races in a row and just hasn't been good enough. But we'll see what these connections can do. We know that this sort of move, when you think about it, claiming for a big price, coming into a stake, it's a lot like one of his mentors, Mike Maker, right, who does the same thing all the time with these types of horses. And maybe there's some upside to him if he can kind of rekindle the form from the fall. He's probably a big player here.
Jockey Jorge Ruiz on the original overnight was named on both Wow What a Summer and Highland Chief. Not surprisingly, he goes with the old class master Highland Chief, trained by Ruiz's main guy, Graham Motion, and his class lines speak for himself. He won the Grade 1 Man of War back in 2022, and after competing in the Breeders' Cup Turf that year, he went to the sidelines for over 500 days. So something must have gone amiss. The questions for Highland Chief are this: can he run anymore? And can we actually determine if he can run anymore based on his 2 starts? Because he has excuses for both of them. The Elkhorn, they tried to go 1.5 miles off that 500-plus day layoff. I'm not going to hold that race against him. And then in the dinner party, he kind of got steadied hard entering the second turn, then got on through. And I just think he hated the soft going. He didn't change leads, and that's not him.
No, when you go down the page, his 2 wins over soft going were in Europe, and they were very different circumstances. One at 1.25 miles in his first race. Not that you see this too often, 5.25 furlongs. So just a different ball game for him. He's also older, right? So maybe things change his running style. I think they probably went with the Elkhorn A, just knowing that he's gone long in the past and just to see sort of maybe for like a stamina building race, right? Obviously, you're going to need stamina to go that long. And then you mentioned the excuses that he had last time out. I have to give credit to the connections. You talk about such a long layoff. His owner is the lady that bred him. You don't see that too often. When these horses usually are done, they go, okay, and they find them a new career, or they do other things with them. But they must still think that he has some ability. And I think for Graham Motion to keep this one in the races like he is, they're trying to get him back on form. And at least his figures, Dan, even though he's not been really close in those last 2, they're still competitive at this level.
The Addison Poor, the number 7's been a little bit of a nibbler for Stuart Grant's the Elkstone Group and Brittany Russell. This guy just doesn't have a lot of speed, so we know where he'll be in the early portion of his races, and that's near the back of the pack. You can depend upon him to make a run, but I do wonder if this class is a little bit too tough.
It might be, but in terms of figures, once again, I think he's competitive in here. I just think when we kind of look at these replays from one of his most recent outings, he just doesn't get there in time. And it's his running style that works against him. And there are certain horses like in my mind that stick out, and he's one of them. He's just doing everything he can, and he's still not going to get it done. So a horse like the Addison Poor, maybe not interesting from a top perspective in terms of top selections, but I do think there is some intrigue, especially at the right price underneath, say in a trifecta.
And you just saw what Ashley was talking about. Hard Spun Reason got the jump on the Addison Poor, got a better trip. The Addison Poor to come around everybody, while Hard Spun Reason was able to save more ground. Speaking of Hard Spun Reason, all he's done for Graham is win 3 in a row. Now, Graham said earlier this month he kind of wants to run him in a Maryland-bred stake in another month, but he didn't really necessarily want to wait that long. He says the horse is doing really, really well, and he certainly is based on his form. He is going to be stepping up into a stake for the first time.
And the big thing about those 3 wins, Dan, is to not forget there's been gaps between them. It's not like we're seeing him every 3 to 4 weeks, and he's kind of carrying that for him. He's had to go to the shelf a couple of times in a row. So this is going to be his first time in a very long time that he's had 2 consecutive starts. But another one that in a race where there isn't much pace, you look at his most recent outing, the pace was hot early on. At least that opening half went very quick, and that's what set up for him. So he is going to need some help. And in this field, it's tough to say he's going to get what he needs to get the job done.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Prince George's County, one of 3 stakes at Laurel on Sunday. We're both going to go with Forever Super. Listen, if Highland Chief is the old Highland Chief, I think he's going to win this race. I still do think as the favorite, he has some questions to answer.
Yeah, it's a big if to kind of endorse him in the top spot at what's going to be a short price. Not that Forever Super is going to be a big price on the tote board, but from a recency angle in terms of his running style in a race that lacks pace, I just think he has the jump on horses like the 6 or even some other horses that we use underneath here. I just think Forever Super is going to be in that perfect spot early on.
4678 for Ashley, 4683 for me. The Prince George's County is one of 3 stakes at Laurel on Sunday. Good luck.